why not a kill box, but why not that mentality? Because when I was younger, when they wanted to shut down the crack game and everything that's going on, we had cops like up and down the streets. Understand what I'm saying? Always being visible. Just like in the subways. Cops walking through the subways. One cop, one cop on the other side of the platform, and they're meeting up. But, you know, I see when I'm on the subway, certain times of the day at night, there's no cops at all. You know, I watch the TV, and here the mayor says, yes, we're going to do a strong initiative, but the strong initiative is in the white train stations. I'm just being honest, man. And then on these streets, if you really want to shut down the activity, once upon a time I chewed the dirt, you know, we crisscrossed all of it. Understand what I'm saying? Everybody's seen us. We didn't bother their culture, their nature, everything, but we were visible. So if there is trouble before it gets to that block, there won't be no trouble because everybody knows the cops is crisscrossing and you're not going to do nothing illegal. The smoking, okay, music, whatever, but it's not enough presence, man. We got kids out here, these old ladies, and it just seems like it's deteriorating. And we keep getting promises, this gonna stop, that's gonna stop, but it never does. I know it's a lot, but you know.
Let me address the transit now first. So the mayor did do this transit initiative, and he did pull a lot of cops. So at one time we had a lot of cops doing administrative work, and we had something for. So we grabbed a lot of cops that was doing administrative work, grabbed a lot of cops from the precinct that was doing paperwork, and we put them out on the streets. And also in transit. So if you look now, you have chiefs and inspectors, myself, we have transit duty. So myself, twice a month, okay, I'm in the train from Broadway Junction all the way to the end and back. And it goes from every inspector, one-star chiefs now, doing the same thing, and we track, and we're going to each transit district, making sure the cops are where they are, scratching the butt, and it's a lot more presence in transit. You may not see it, but it is a lot more presence in transit, just because the mass personnel he has going to transit, and it's documented that they are going to transit. And they go into each station and checking in at each station. Personnel in general, we can't have cops on every corner for us, which we can, but we got to work with what we have. And 6-7 XOs here, 6-7 is a huge precinct. They have probably more personnel than most precincts because it's just so huge. But even with that, you might have 2 guys on one corner, but then you got to wait 3 or 4 blocks to see another 2 cops. So is cops getting on the corner effective? I don't know. Is it more effective to walk around? So now we have a community affairs all out, right? So we get all the community affairs officers go to one location or one section. So say we do a notion from 8-block radius and just show presence on that block or those blocks for a week and then move it. So now we gotta be precision policing. So we gotta be in the right place at a certain time to deter some crimes. And back and forth.
Still crisscross, that's all I'm saying. But, you know, like we had a platoon and we were basically doing a 10-mile area with 14 guys. And it was very effective. You understand what I'm saying? And we're in their land. Like the cops are in our land right now. So, I mean, just a presence, brother. Just to see them going. I don't know how you want to rotate them. Like if you have, can't do the numbers or whatever, but just have them walking where they see them every 5-10 minutes. If you do got a precinct with this many cops allowed it, I mean, do it in a way where you're constantly being seen. And that takes away from a lot of, you know what I'm saying? Thank you. Appreciate it.
So thank you for your service. I want to begin with that. I'm looking at the website, the NYPD website, or maybe it's a New York City government site. And it says that for the month of June, the number of parole shooting incidents again declined in New York City compared with a year ago. And we do know that one shooting is one shooting too many. So, but I want to ask you, how real is this crime epidemic versus people's perception? if your website is saying the overall shootings are down, right? But people are still feeling really anxious.
Yeah, so, true, so shootings are down, homicides are down, but what's important is how people feel. And if people feel unsafe, we lose. So, of course, media plays a huge part of it. Media plays a huge part. Every time you turn on the TV, you're seeing versus shot. It seems like it's all over the place. It's too many, of course, but it is down in perception, I think, because of what you see on TV and what you hear about people getting shot all over the place. That's just perception. There's too many shootings, of course, but I think a lot of it is the fear and perception that's being pushed out to us.
Right. Well, we live in a city with almost 9 million people, and we're not all fire boys and girls. So we're gonna have shootings, and we're gonna have, unfortunately, crime. So I'm wondering, given what you just said, what is the NYPD's responsibility in combating some of the fear mongering from the media, as opposed to feeding into it and exacerbating what is already a bad problem?
So our job is to do policing fairly and be out there. Like the young man said that presence is important, you know? So like transit. So we put a lot more cops on the train, so when people go into the transit system, they feel safe and secure because they see it now. Right? I wish, like I said, I wish we were doing it every block, but our job is to police fairly and be out there and hold people accountable if we break the law. And that's what we do. We do social media. We talk about all the good things that the police department does. But that's not important. The important thing is how you guys feel. And I think this being out there will help you feel a little safer.
But what about you telling people?
So
Communicating that.
so every precinct has social media, a Twitter page, a Facebook page, an Instagram page, and all the information that they do on for that precinct will be on that social media platform.
Another question? No, I'm done. You have a question?
Yeah. So just like what you were saying, where you could check on the community website or the police board or whatever the case may be. You said you have programs for like youths and stuff, right? Like aviations and stuff. But how are you gonna get it out to the youths without saying go on the board? You know, like how he's saying with the presence. If you was out in the streets and you have presence, you can hand out flyers to the youths to say that there's aviation classes that we're approving for you guys.
So we are on the street, we hand out flyers, we take with dollars.
I never saw that.
Unfortunately. However, and I'll tell you, we have a waiting list of over 150 kids waiting for that program. Right? So that word is out. So unfortunately, we didn't get it, but maybe we can always do a better job by giving that to the local.
Or what about throwing up flyers around town? Like up on the subways, everywhere? Because I see like, when it's time for election, you see a whole bunch of election flyers. But I'm just saying, for election time, we would see a whole bunch of flyers, but for something like an aviation class that I would love for my niece or nephew to
So
join.
to piggyback off of what you're saying, so
Yeah.
here's my suggestion. So
Yes.
community engagement are things where there should be more community engagement. That's what you're asking for, correct?
Yes.
So this is a good thing, and you know, everyone should do it. The community council meetings are like so important because you got a one-on-one conversation with the CEO of that command. And when you go to a community council meeting, and I always say, listen, somebody called 911, they did everything they could do, now they call nothing, right? If someone comes to a community council meeting and complain, they already called 911, it didn't work. Now they actually came out to the community council meeting to complain. Those complaints will be handled by the CEO, be handled one-on-one. And he will address it. So that's one of your complaints. He has the community affairs officers in the command. And then you go, listen, you guys, I need you guys to go out a little bit more and push out this program. I'm quite sure they're doing it, but maybe not doing it in your area. So maybe raise your voice and they will come in. You don't know how powerful your voice is.
It is, but trust me, We don't know when that community meeting happens. So that's why I'm saying the flyers, you throw up a bunch of flyers, just like how I knew about this was because my friend Jermaine threw it up on Instagram. That way I would know what's going on. But other than that, if you guys were to throw up like a couple of flyers around, I would definitely come to the community board meeting and voice my opinion.
Thank you, everyone. I wanted my colleague in government to join me today, Jelani Williams. Thank you so much, public advocate. I wanted him to lend his voice to this conversation. This is something he's been very passionate about, public safety, how we go to start communities. So you may.
I'm happy to listen a little bit too.
Oh, you want to listen? Any other questions? Yes.
So just to take off of that, so I've been working in Brooklyn as a teacher for about 5 years now, and I taught 5th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade, 12th grade. And whenever we talk about current issues, the level of disenfranchisement our young people have with the police department is very concerning to me. And I've heard you speak of things like community centers, aviation classes, things like that. But these are things that I've heard of in the time I was in school. And I'm just wondering if there are any renewed effort or any new initiatives to try to bring this generation into cooperating with the police department, because the generation that's coming up with learning about seeing all these things that's happening on social media and on the news, it's very concerning that this is going to be a generation that doesn't trust the police department even less than previous ones before.
So, community affairs, that's like the number one topic, right? So, there's a lot of programs that we do, and a lot of, we try to engage the kids in sports with blue chips, bringing them to the blue chips program, and then from there, sector into mentorship and maybe job training. So the plan is, and the plan, not the plan, what we've been doing is, we got a list of local CBOs in each community, right? So when we come in contact with a child that's looking for some type of program or something they enjoy doing, we can refer that child to that program, right? And that's what we've been doing, on all the police officers' phone. They can tap the button, go to the NYPD portal, and then show all the programs that's available in that area. So they should be referring the child. When it comes to programming in NYPD, the only ones that's doing consistent programs are normally community affairs officers. The cops in the precincts, sometimes they're not able to do consistent programs once or twice a week for a duration of time because things happen in the pool. So what they should be doing is partnering up with a local CBO and then referring those kids to those programs so the community is helping each other, because you can't rely on the copy of those programs because we get pulled in so many different directions. But yeah, we have blue chips, we have girls talk, it's a lot of programs they have. We have Explorers, we have SY, some of you workers that works with the precinct. So we have about 12, 13 citywide programs that's ongoing. And then you got one-shot deals that demands doing certain things on their own with different collaborative CBOs.
So as a follow-up question, and again, community engagement, I understand something that needs to be improved upon. But I'm wondering, what are the lines of communication between the police department and our public schools? Like these programs that you're speaking of, again, in my humble experience, I've been teaching for 5 years, I've never heard of instance. And I've worked in several different schools like this. So I'm wondering, is there a communication between public schools and the police department? Hey, we have these programs, we have these kids that you can lead into. How clear is that?
Yeah, so we have school safety leaders in all commands, overseen by us. So they have we utilize them because they have a great relationship with kids. They are our ambassadors inside the school. Right now, we used to have cops in the schools, of course, school safety task force. We don't have that anymore, but we rely on the school safety officers that help us bridge that gap with the kids. But executive level, of course, the PC, it's up to the mayor, it's up to the chancellor, and things like that. And these programs they have for assistance, we collaborate. So I'll give you, for instance, right, 127 Pendants and NYPD Community Centers on Pennsylvania Avenue. We do outreach with the local schools to those other programs. So the kids go to after school to some of our programs. Now, we gotta stay in our lane, so, we might do homework help, but we're not teachers. So the after-school programs belong, some of the educational after-school program, it should stay in the school. So some of the specialty things we do that we can be mentors and things like that, that's what we do at NYPD. When we use our CDOs to do.
I'd like to add to that, I think we can all agree that, you know, really the youth are, you know, the future, this is like a corny saying, but like with them not having trust in any of these systems, we're all in trouble, right? And so having access to different opportunities and resources is essential. As a city government, we have a youth advisory council that's open to 10 to 18-year-olds. The application process will open up in November. The only requirement is that they're interested in having conversations with NYPD, with us, advising us on how to better reach youth, how to improve our social media presence, but also how to push the policy to benefit them. We had a youth summit in 2019 that had recommendations on better policing in and around schools, on improving relationships with youth that are being stopped for doing childlike things like running or carrying a backpack or, you know, wrestling and jostling with each other. It's really important to have youth at every kind of level of this process.
And let me just add, sorry. You're an educator, and you probably have some great ideas that could better help that connection, right? So maybe you should speak to your local CEO and say, listen, this is some programs I think we can do together. So when I was CEO at 81, I had members of the community saying, listen, let's do this. I had 3 guys who own barber shops. That's not. They said, listen, let's do a barber shop later. I'll take one kid for summer, I'll take one kid for summer, teach my cut here, teach on entrepreneurship. And I was like, that's a great idea. I brought it in my office and we did that locally. So a lot of times there's great ideas out there. Don't expect us to give you more great ideas because a lot of us don't understand what's needed in the community. And I'm being real. So if you guys come with great ideas, we'll help implement it and we'll help support it. Especially the OGs, right? You know, when I have issues, you know, I always go to the community. I pick out one person who I think is kind of older and understands, and I'll pull them to the side and go, listen, I need you to do me a favor. Listen, you don't want to come here and police this area or this event you have. Do me a favor. Just make sure that I cleans up at 9 o'clock. Most times, you expect I got you. And we're on our way. I understand the community because I'm from this community, but there are some CEOs who probably don't understand it. It's not their fault. They're just not a part of it. So suggestions from you guys will go a long way.
She was first, and then I.
Me?
Go ahead, ma'am. Yes. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Marvin Kupi, Martin Street Law Association, and we had the virtual one from Percy Joseph, and I followed up with Joel. And one of the big concerns were I can't say abandoned cars in blocks that had no license plate. And the shifting and rotating, the manipulation, as it was explained to me. And I understand that. I followed up with Joel, and I was told that some new initiatives are going to come into effect. Could you discuss those initiatives?
Right, so, yes. So during COVID, motor vehicles were shut down, right? People got extensions on the registrations and a lot of things was all over the place. And we did do an initiative. We do have an initiative going on in chief control where we target those paper plates. I know it's a lot, but they are targeted. Traffic bureau, that's their focus now, paper plates, and the local precincts also.
If I can jump in for a quick second. Come on.
Yes. Want to
So,
conversation back and forth?
he's the executive officer of the 6-7, and he's in charge of the traffic program.
So yeah, I'm Captain Goodshot from the 62nd Precinct, and I am familiar with your complaint. I'm gonna say traffic concerns, especially parking concerns in the 6-7, it's a huge problem, and it's a problem we are working tirelessly to address. Last year, we removed some 126 cars throughout the 67 precincts, 3.3 square miles. So it's a huge area, and every community has complaints of these abandoned cars, especially with, like the inspector said, COVID happening and the paper plate epidemic where they register these vehicles with paper plates and the paper DMV being closed, they're not able to get a hard registration for the vehicles. So these vehicles are either left abandoned or someone's taking advantage of that situation and applying these paper plates on the vehicles. So one of the mayor's new initiatives that he's spoken about, and it's been forwarded down through the PC and to the borough and to the precinct level, is to ensure that we do enforcement on these derelict vehicles, these abandoned vehicles, and these vehicles with temporary plates. So it is something we're working on. This year so far, NCO David just, David is in the middle of the block of the precinct from Nostrand to Schenectady. I'm sorry, to Utica. I want to say Clarkson to Church. That's the middle of that precinct. They removed 37 cars 2 weeks ago. We have another initiative coming up in Sector Adam, which is where Martins is, and that should be going into place. We're working with Department of Transportation. We're working with Transportation Bureau, which is NYPD Transportation Bureau tow trucks. We're working with all the tow operators that we could have that does the road tows. They've been coming along. We have about 6 or 7 cops along with these different units, so we should be removing a bunch of cars that are on Rogers, on Martins, and wherever it is that you guys are submitting your complaints to. So I encourage you, submit your complaints to us. They're not overloaded. We are paying attention to them. And so far for the year, we've removed over 87 vehicles. So that's a premium spot when you think of these cars just sitting there for years, not doing anything. And with regards to your question as to what we're doing to promote the positiveness of what the police officers are doing within the community, we just got a mandate from BCPI to make sure that we are putting it out, because perception is everything. We can be making all these gun arrests, we can be saying our shootings are down, violence is down, gun collars are up. But if you don't feel safe, then you're not safe. If you can't feel comfortable walking down the block, you're not safe. We failed. And my job is to make sure that every one of us in here or out there can walk the street and feel safe in their own neighborhood. All right? That's the goal. So the mandate was to ensure that we're making positive posts on our social media accounts, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Facebook, whatever, Instagram, whatever the social media apps are that we're using. If you subscribe to the 67 Precinct or NYPD, whatever it is, you're gonna see these posts. So I encourage you, if you're not, please. The Precinct Community Council, like the inspector mentioned earlier, it's a very important meeting. It happens the third Thursday of every month, except for the 2 months in the summer. All right? You gotta come out, you gotta meet with the guys that are responsible for traffic, the cops, the supervisors, not just the cops, the supervisors. The precinct CO is there, the precinct XOs are there, the precinct platoon commanders are there. So they're hearing directly from you as to what your concerns are, and we can tell you if we don't have a plan. At that point, we're gonna work in it, and we will get back to you. All right? And this is not just speech. We show our works by our actions. So hold us accountable that way, judge us that way. And we are working on the initiative to get these cars towed. So if you have specific locations, you can send us an email. Also, who's going to give you contact information, and we'll make sure we include Martins in that cleanup.
And it's just not only the paper plate issues. It's the manipulation of taking the license plates off. There's several cars. My president counted 15 cars right around the corner from Linden Boulevard up to Bedford, ended up at Martins and Rogers. So, people just, they're not abandoned.
So,
they
right,
cars.
so the issue with that is the legality of the removal comes into play. We have to be able to monitor those cars for a specific period of time to make sure that those cars haven't been moved. All right? So that's the problem.
Yeah, my friend and I have a question, but I'll let her ask first. I forgot your name in the middle, but you mentioned that the CCRB seeks to go about the investigations in a non-biased manner. And I know your website mentions impartial fashion. How do you seek to ensure those measurements? And being an independent agency, how are you funded?
So how I talk about CCRB complaints, it's not a Yelp review, right? It's not that like, I'm gonna file a complaint and then like, just leave it as is. We take every complaint seriously. We know that it's, a police officer's, it's gonna go on a police officer's records potentially, and we respect that. So, we use a preponderance of evidence standard, which is, a little over 50%, so that when we conclude an investigation, it has to pass that threshold for us to say misconduct occurred, it was substantiated. If it doesn't meet that standard, it could be that it was unable to determine, given the evidence that we collected. We can find that, when it's unfounded, perhaps a civilian relayed that information inaccurately, or it could be that the incident happened, but it was within the NYPD guidelines. So it's multiple outcomes as a result of that. That's why it's important for us to get access to the body worn camera footage to investigate all parties involved. Police officers must come to our office and provide their statement. We're looking at medical records, again, any footage or additional evidence that they provide. So it's a really robust and serious investigation. And then with your second question about funding, we're a government entity. So we undergo the same process as other city agencies in regards to funding. We are a part of the city council and mayor's budgetary process. Every year we are called before city council, the public safety committee, to address our concerns. And we hope that the budget as a moral document is reflective of how important oversight is to communities.
Hold on.
Sorry. With so much of the violence occurring amongst the youth, and then raising the age of legislation to prosecute them, what social justice programs or initiatives are being used to deter the youth from committing future crimes?
NYPD.
You should have said
You
you
asked a little question when you asked the politician.
Sorry.
You asked a little question.
Yeah, social justice reform. That's the question, that's
ATIs or ATD, like alternatives to incarceration.
Correct.
So what kind of alternatives we have to incarceration?
Right, because they're not prosecuting those 16-year-olds.
Oh, the combative.
So what do we do to deter them from committing those future crimes? Or educating them?
Okay, all right, so like I said, I think our rapid referral program for investigators, so we first have to have that with them. As any type of contact, we have to refer them to a program that's quite going to benefit them, so they won't go back to the same kind of work. So we got to partner up with CBOs and different organizations that can offer some programs that may deter that child from going in the same direction we're going.
But is there any monitoring? Because they're turning out to be repeat offenders, so monitoring.
Yeah, so we don't monitor, so we can't monitor the kids. So, we just refer to a program. We don't monitor the program. We refer to that program. We're going to assume that CBO who's running that program is doing the right thing with that child. We don't oversee the CBO. We just direct them to the best program that fits them.
So also the DA's office would be monitoring the CBO through that process. So they're the ones that give the grants for the ATIs and ATs, alternatives to incarceration, alternatives.
Yeah, they are the main ones.
So we can actually have a question.
Hello, my name is Jamani Williams.